welcome to our parallel session. We're going to be looking at how the provision of market-relevant cloud services in Europe is going to be changing over the next few years and what the impact on skills are going to be. So first of all, just a brief introduction. We're entering what President von der Leyen has called Europe's digital decade. Cloud computing is a fundamental brick of a digital Europe, and it's playing an even stronger role in the European economy and society. We already have some strategy documents, a European strategy for data, a new industrial strategy for Europe, and both of those have a strong focus on data spaces and federated cloud infrastructures. The question is really how supply and demand can be improved in terms of quality and the conditions of use, and how that can actually in turn be used to boost European innovation in the following cloud computing areas. On the one hand, we need effective cloud federation models that stimulate the creation of a European public cloud market, leveraging existing capabilities, edge computing with market growth and the implications of the infrastructure balance switching from today's 20% data at the network edge to 80% in the cloud, to the proportions being reversed. And thirdly, adoption of green computing principles to the whole life cycle of cloud computing delivery. And that will be a key element of supporting the transition towards carbon neutral, if not carbon negative, digital society by 2050. So the European Commission has tasked the H Cloud initiative to analyze the status quo and provide recommendations for future work programs that can support the European cloud community. And one of the gaps actually relates to skill. Does Europe have the talent necessary to be a significant shaper of the cloud of the future? Do our companies and our society have the skills necessary to understand the implications of using cloud technology? A recent study by IDC revealed that the skills IT professionals gained 10 years ago are already obsolete. And that cycle of obsolescence is actually increasing, and the speed of obsolescence is duplicating every couple of years. 1.8 million IT jobs will be unfilled by 2022. Now, to explore some of these issues in greater detail, I have with me today a great panel of experts. I have Alban Schmutz, who's chairman of CISPE, that's the Cloud Association of European Providers in Europe. He's also from OVH, one of the leading cloud providers themselves, organizations. Dr. Cristina Aranda, head of business development for Taiger AI. Alberto Brezmes, who's head of security processes and advanced architectures for Inetum digital risk. Saguna, senior lecturer, pervasive and mobile computing from Lilia University of Technology. And Jesse Robbers, senior business consultant, my apologies, for TNO. So while we allow more people to join the session, and you will get yourselves a coffee, hopefully, and get yourselves comfortable, we'd like to really start by setting the scene and explaining and exploring what the ecosystem looks like at the moment. So Alban, please take over. Thank you.
No, my mic is on, so sorry. So thank you very much for I would say for this introduction. And what I'm gonna do is maybe to give you a view on what I consider main topics on the scene. And you notice that the title of the session is "The Wind of Change." I want to start to maybe to give an overview of what is changing today in the cloud area, and what are, I would say, the key challenges that we're gonna have to work all together to tackle them. First, I think to start, I want to come back to what happened in the past following months. We have seen that the COVID crisis has demonstrated that cloud is a very huge tool for resiliency. And I think we need to have this all in mind, that there is no way not to use the cloud in the future to enhance the resiliency we need to have, I would say, in the broader society, whatever is it for the businesses, for the administration, and any kind of organization. So I think this is something very key that demonstrates that, I would say, the cloud is not only a tech topic, but it's also a question where we have, I would say, consequences on the broader environment. On the cloud itself, I think there are 4 things that trends that are changing very heavily, in my view, currently. So there is one, I would say, everyone knows about. This is basically the market share of the cloud area versus traditional IT. And if, I would say, according to a study published by IDC some months ago, basically the shift from traditional IT to cloud is very strong, and from 2016 it came down from 60% to 40%, I would say, expected in 2022, so very soon from now. So it's a huge shift, given the fact that the growth of the IT market in general is not, I would say, very high. But we are seeing that shift, and cloud is getting stronger and stronger. But the second change I think we have to, I would say, to consider is that the cloud itself is changing. So cloud is becoming more granular. Infrastructure as a service, software as a service, even platform as a service is something that is quite, I would say, technologically old now, even there is lots of innovation inside these areas. But we also have a more granular cloud today, and with the emergence of function as a service and other kind of things delivered, I would say, industrially, as a service, and this is very, very important, what is going on. The second thing regarding technology, I think, is the growth of the topic of the data spaces vertically oriented. So collaboration has always been, I would say, done by industry players. But now we are seeing that the industrialization of the collaboration and the collaboration process is ongoing. I will come back to that. But this is something we see very strongly in a project like Gaia X, and I will come back to that a little later on. But I think the verticalization of the industrialization of processes is something very interesting to follow. And the third thing regarding technology, as Tanya mentioned, the European Commission also stated this in the digital strategy, is the change of, I would say, the volume of data between cloud and edge, coming from 80 to 20% versus 20% from cloud to edge, going to the reverse in 2025. So these are very, I would say, big trends on the technology, which are, I would say, changing today in the cloud itself. But there are 2 other things that I think changes we need to take into consideration, that, in my view, I would say, are very strong, very interesting, and probably very disruptive to some extent. The first is openness of cloud services. Everyone will tell you that cloud services are open and you can leave when you want, and you can move from one cloud provider to another. The reality of the market is that there are some, I would say, lock-in effects that are still ongoing on the market, and I will come back to that. But now there is a route also not to build things inside silos of some technology vendors with aggregation of some of the players, I would say, in between this silo, but it is time for something more open, and this is the European route. So I'm also interim deputy CTO of an organization named Gaia X. You probably heard about. And this is something where we are working strongly on creating openness federated cloud infrastructure. And the president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, even mentioned already back mid of September in her speech to the Union in front of the European Parliament that the European digital strategy will rely on Gaia-X. The question is why? Why is it so important? Gaia-X basically is working on two things. One is to enable what I named the vertical data spaces earlier, so focusing on having players in the healthcare sector, aerospace industry, mobility, financial services, energy, and others to be able to work more easily together between competitors or with suppliers and customers in that value chain to create more value out of the data. And this is something very strong on the value creation in the cloud area that we have to take into account. So, and the other side of the coin within Gaia-X is all the work that is done regarding what is named federated services regarding cloud infrastructure. The topic is how are we going to ensure that at an ecosystem level, transparency, data protection, security, and I would say even more importantly, vendor lock-in is addressed, and with a real portability and reversibility regarding data and applications. So this is something very strong that is happening, and we had our first Gaia-X summit last week. So, and Gaia-X today, so we started in June of this year, announcing the creation of Gaia-X with 22 founding members. We announced last week 100 members in the organizations coming from 15 European countries and even beyond. And this is something very strong, since there is a movement today to build on openness, to rely on open APIs, etc., etc. So this is something very key, a very strong trend that is currently ongoing in the market. And on this also, just also to give you a view on what's going on, even a bit more than 1 month ago, all European member states agreed on a joint declaration on what they named the Alliance for Industrial Data and Cloud, and which will be set up by the European Commission in order to ensure, I would say, the flagging of investments in that area in the next coming years. And what we are speaking about is about 15 billion in the next 3 years. So it's something very huge. So this is a mega trend. Openness and federation of, I would say, services and players is something very key. What we do in Gaia-X is not only about federating players from Europe, it is open to any provider which is supporting the same values, and the values are defined in what we name the policy rules inside Gaia-X regarding the topic I've mentioned of transparency, data protection, security, etc. The fourth change I wanted to mention here is I think it's something that it's not very seen often in the cloud area, since in the cloud industry we are techies, and so we like to code, to develop infrastructure, services, etc. But is one thing that we usually not focus on is regulation, since the cloud market was not regulated forever. And now the cloud market is going to enter in a way where it is even more important, or at least as important, that telco services. And so the regulation will be more and more important to take into account in the cloud market. And so there are lots of things going on in on these regulatory things, but I will only take 4 of them. One, I think, in my view, is probably the most important, is the forthcoming regulation regarding competition on gatekeepers. The famous files named the Digital Services Act and now Digital Market Act, both being to be, I would say, published by the Commission the 9th of December, if I read the press correctly here. And why it is so important. So cloud players will be captured in what is named gatekeepers, since and what this regulation are new is that the cloud market will not only be considered regarding competition with traditional competition tools. You are putting a complaint against a player in front with DG Comp and so the competition authorities to investigate and then to have a judgment and an appeal, etc. So a procedure of at least 10 years. And now with this regulation framework, we are coming to ex-ante rules with a blacklist of forbidden practices. So, and such practices that we have been seeing in the IT world for years regarding software licenses, and now that have impact on the cloud, may be forbidden for what are gatekeepers. So to make things simple, I would say the biggest players in the market. But the definition of gatekeeper, it's, I would say, unclear now for the moment, but we'll see what the Commission will come out on this. So this is something very important, since it will change a lot on the way we address the cloud topic. The second one is, I would say, also a bit of a structural change when it comes to, for example, the transparency of algorithms. I think this is a trend that it's unstoppable. And so there is an ask of transparency regarding algorithm. It will be reflected in some regulation as well. So we need to be prepared on that. The third one is regarding sectorial regulations. The cloud will have to apply sectoral regulations, and the latest package from the European Commission named DORA for financial servicing regarding digital operational resilience with specific things regarding, I would say, the cloud, I would say the IT things and the cloud is something that will probably be replicated in other vertical sectors. And the fourth one I want to take here regarding what we have been discussing is also the carbon neutrality target by 2050 from the European Commission for all Europe. So there is something more precise regarding data centers. So to achieve carbon neutrality by 2030. But the whole industry in the cloud has to achieve the goal, and it's not only about data centers. So I will come back to that. These are, in my view, the four main areas of changing where we are in now. So this raises some key challenges. I just wanted to outline quickly here in front of this assembly today. First, I think there are two sets of challenges. One is the one we are mostly expecting, since some studies has been made by research organizations as well as or analysts organizations, as well as CIOs associations, etc. Another one I think is perhaps more significant to deal with in the future. So there was a recent survey saying that 86% of IT leaders are thinking that a shortage of cloud talent will slow down cloud projects. Basically, I think there is a huge topic regarding skills to move from traditional IT to the world of the cloud, even of today, even not of the cloud of tomorrow, but the cloud of today. And speaking with lots of, I would say, customers organizations, this is a real strong issue, and restructuring skills is something complicated, but this is not enough. There is also a cultural leap to manage regarding how to evaluate, select, operate, how to deal with workload specific problems, etc. So this is something very so new areas of skills. It's not only about technical skills. This is also soft skills regarding agility, transversality, how to collaborate between people. So we are coming out of silos to work on a collaborative mode, as I mentioned previously with Gaia-X. This is something very strong. We are going to see, working with more granular approaches to be able to make the urbanization of the granular approaches and to work in collaboration. So this is a very different skill that some of them that has been used in the past. I think so. There are also I would say the strategic thinking that is needed by the management. So I would say, IT as a service in general. So cloud being the way to do things is another way to, I would say, to manage the organizations as well. So the skills needs to be also at the highest level of the top management to understand what's going on and how the organization can adapt or not, and how swiftly it can be doing. And also there are all the skills regarding all the applications to manage and to develop. We have been discussing about edge computing. This is one of the key things also to address. I have 1 minute, I think, left. So I think I would just want to finish on 4 significant areas where we need to build skills all together. Transparency of algorithm is something very interesting, I think, since our industry was not used to develop, I would say, transparent algorithm. So how to make it, I would say, available to the public, explained, regarding also the questions of IP protections and process protection behind, etc., is a very huge topic for us in the future. There also a new way we need to, a new topic we need to manage is the way we're going to manage trust and how to reshape it with this composition of services in a more open world. So it's quite easy basically to manage trust. It's to have one cloud infrastructure provider and one software as a service provider who have to collaborate to have a chain of trust. But if you are doing a composition of services from various providers, various software vendors, etc., to have a whole chain of trust, I think is something that we're gonna have to deal with in the future. That will be quite interesting as well. The third thing is I'm pretty sure that data centers will be climate neutral by 2030. But the question regarding climate neutrality is the efficiency of coding and the applications, and are they using as less as power consumption as possible or resources. And this is something that is not really taken into account when we develop applications for the last 20, 30 years, or even more. So now this is something we will have to take into account. And this is a way an area where we need both research and developing skills a lot. And the fourth one would be also the change of mentality from us. We have to onboard and to skill and to train also more women. So there are, I would say, proportionally there are too much men in our area, and there are lots of area where we will benefit to have more skills. And I think this is also an area where we need to work. So just to conclude in one sentence, I think the wind of change is, I would say, is already blowing. It's a huge agenda we have in front of us, and we will have to tackle this all together. But don't think only about technology, but also think about all the structural changes around. And I think this will give us a great agenda to deal together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alban. That was absolutely brilliant scene setting. I don't think you could have done a much better job of actually bringing together all the threads that are affecting the evolution of cloud computing in Europe and the implications for policy, for society, and for our planet generally, you know, by bringing in the very important element of climate change and everything that needs to be done there. So before we move on to the questions, thank you very much, Joao, for sharing that. We wanted to ask the panelists to just give us a brief overview of their experience within the area and the roles in their organizations. Cristina, may I invite you to the stage, to our virtual stage, and just a very brief introduction, please.
Thank you for being and invite Taiger. Well, I am Cristina Linguistic and Master in Internet Business. I am a business development for Europe at Taiger. This is artificial intelligence and natural language processing company. We focus on a intelligence automation process for companies as, for example, Santander, Citibank USA, and among others. And of course, we are official providers of Singapore government of Singapore. We have the headquarters there, and we have office in Madrid for all Europe and Latam. So, and also I am co-founder of Mujeres Tech. Thank you, Alban, for focus and sign and see that showed us that it's very important to have diversity inside the teams and diversity of identity and diversity, cognitive diversity, of course. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cristina. We'll come back to you with some very specific questions about that diversity piece. Alberto, could I ask you also to introduce yourself, please?
Yes, my name is Alberto Brezmes. I'm member of Digital Risk team at Inetum, Spain. Maybe you know it before as GFI. Inetum is a company with more than 27,000 employees around the world. So I could say that we have a lot of different business lines and a lot of working units like health, insurance, public sectors. So maybe we could say that we are in every business and we can understand maybe every requirement, architecture, or specification to work in cloud environments. And as is in my case, with deep focus on cloud security and advanced architectures.
Thank you very much. Saguna, over to you.
Yeah, hi. I'm an assistant professor, senior lecturer at Luleå University of Technology. It's in North Sweden. I did my PhD now 7 years ago from Monash University in Australia and LTU as a double degree. And I've been teaching now for the last 6-7 years. And in cloud services is one of the courses that we also teach. Apart from that, we're also looking into, I work with machine learning and IoT, Internet of Things, smart energy. So those are the areas, but what Alban already has mentioned is the topics and the research. So we are mostly doing a lot of research in this area as well, not just teaching. So yeah, and that's my background.
Thank you very much. And Jesse.
Yes, working for TNO, which is a research organization within the Dutch market, which is translating technical developments from science into industry, from different angles, from health, agriculture, medicines, etc. But also we have a quite strong unit that is focusing on digital transformation, where we support in the technical development of these elements for these different industries if it comes to the digital infrastructure. I'm part of the digital infrastructure area, leading, for instance, also the GAIA-X developments within the Dutch market, in combination with the government, but also with the industry. And we've built up a cloud infrastructure coalition to discuss topics like this, but also work further on the collaboration in this field. And besides this, I'm involved in the quantum technology developments, leading quantum internet within the Dutch market, which is in our opinion also the fundament for the future of the cloud and data transport.
Thank you very much, Jesse. And I think that you'll agree we have a stellar panel and really diverse in terms of perspective. So we have the private sector, we have providers, we have academia, and of course we have gender diversity as well. So particularly pleased about that. So Alban, you already outlined some of the skills shortages that are here and that we're facing here and now in relation to cloud services. And it was quite interesting because you also mentioned that it's not just about technical skills, it's also about the softer skills of being able to collaborate. Gone are the days in where you had techies just coding away in a dark room and you know, drinking their fizzy drinks and not having contact with the outside world. Those typologies or those I would almost say stereotypes of technology providers are long gone, down to the fact that you even envisage them with a beer and being very much a male person. Can you elaborate a little bit more about some of the more technical skills that will be required?
So So in terms of skills, there is various layers, and so basically in that layers, I would say the organizations are not doing the same. So OVH Cloud is the largest European cloud provider, but is a cloud infrastructure provider. So our skills, for example, at our level, are mostly regarding the automation on the provisioning of infrastructure. So it's DevOps, cloud architecture, etc. But also data analytics, AI, machine learning, etc. We need to have, and basically all of our competitors are in that. But if we take this in a broader view I would say on the players in the market, these skills are even much more needed in the area of software as a service. So this is something where I would say all the application developers needs to be also skilled on that. But in the gradation of the volume, I would say where we see the most lack of skills, it's regarding the users of cloud services. So all the big organizations we need to use cloud services or reshape their IT, etc. And so those skills are also useful. We need the same skills, but basically there is a huge lack of skills. And some, I would say, customer organizations or CIO associations are thinking that there may be a wall regarding the same skills, but for them, since they also have some difficulties to compete regarding I would say the packages they used to have in that area. So the kind of skills we need are basically the same all over the market. So there are specificities, but basically they are the same all around the market. And but we have a lack of volume for everyone. And what is the most preoccupating is that the cloud providers in general are able to capture most of these talents. But if they are disappearing from the user side, then you have a problem to get the users to use those services. So basically, I will stop here, but I think this is the answer. And there also one thing a trend maybe I'd like to see also for the top talent today. It's a worldwide market. So we used to have some, I would say, national markets where you are hiring someone who is living I don't know, a couple of kilometers from the area where you are hiring, etc. This is starting to be at an end in that market. And I would say the COVID crisis and all the remote work jump showed also that this is more possible. And I think this will create worldwide a very segmented way to deal with talents, with I would say top talents worldwide, and those who are less skilled. And I think this will be a huge challenge to manage for any organization.
Thank you, Alban. And I think that is something. So you raised 2 points there. One was around the need for skills, not just in the providers, but also in the adopters of cloud technology. And I think I'd like to invite Alberto to provide a perspective on that, specifically in relation to security of the technology. Alberto, I'll come to you in just a second. But the second point you raised was around this being a global market and talent going to wherever the good jobs were and wherever that talent was able to be valued most, probably in monetary terms, but probably not just in monetary terms. So Jesse, coming over to you, you work a lot internationally. You also have a bird's eye view of what's happening, not just in Europe, but in other jurisdictions. How do you see the lack of skills? What's different about the skills that are required in Europe versus the skills that are required elsewhere? Are there any differences?
I think what we see in Europe that we are missing, of course, the large organizations that working on technology like this with budgets to have the right people on board at the moment. And that's also if you look into markets within in the Netherlands, we have lots of people that are well trained at universities and high schools that have really good technology base, are really good on, for instance, AI, they have shown in their PhD that they have done really good job there. And then there is no real place where they can build up their experience and do some challenging things, and then they are acquired and pushed to tech companies that are not in Europe. So we need to bring challenges for them in the European market where they can fit in and where they can work on. Especially in the Netherlands, there was a sort of brain drain of people that were moving because there was no real active work for them in the Dutch market to companies like Google and Amazon. And that was a pity for instance, the Dutch market and a pity for Europe. So we need to find places to where we can help them challenges, where we have the budgets to keep them in, and that will be important to organize in Europe.
I see Cristina nodding there very emphatically. So Cristina, I'll come back to you to expand on that, because I know that you have operations in Singapore. In fact, I first came across Taiger in Singapore, which is quite ironic given that you're also based in Madrid. But I'd like to bring Alberto into the conversation, not just on security piece, Alberto, which is your specific area of expertise, but bringing the question more to the point of SME adoption. I don't know whether any of you were in the opening speeches or the opening sessions to this event, but there was a statistic that 6 out of 10 SMEs do not adopt cloud technologies because essentially they don't trust them. At what point should an SME bring in external providers to understand what some of those implications can be long-term? Risks, but also opportunities, and to what degree do you think those skills need to be in-house versus something that they bring in, say, a consultant to come and help them, discuss and deal with?
Yes, I think maybe the moment becomes when you understand that you aren't a traditional business company. And now, maybe said before, you need to understand maybe you are a retail, but now you are not only a retail, you have a technological part. So you need to understand that you are a technological based company. And in this case, you will need people with enough knowledge to able you or to carry you to the cloud adoption way. But I think that this is the most important part. More you are a technological company, maybe you are a startup with a cloud native company, you will need the team inside. But if you are a traditional company that is now adopting the cloud, you will need to have people inside with enough knowledge to improve the cloud way or the cloud approach, and you will need the help of the specificals or the specialist providers to improve you to build your architecture. But I said, more you are a technological company, more you will need your specialist inside. And the difference is you don't only need skills to deploy something, you need skills to understand how to build something. And this is the main paradigm that we have now. People who understand this paradigm and improve the architectures to the power of the cloud. But this is not only technical things.
Okay, no, that's also quite specialized for an SME to necessarily have, even if there are an advanced SMEs looking at incorporating advanced digital manufacturing. That's quite a tall ask for them to look at how to plan their existing talent pool and to understand what they need to recruit for in the future. And I presume that's also where the external expertise comes in. Saguna, you see the talent before it gets onto the market, and Jesse actually referred to the fact, I think we all know this, I mean, we're involved in the European Digital Skills and Jobs Coalition, BluSpecs is the secretariat for that. And we do actually see this quite a lot. There are many initiatives, the research institutions, the academic institutions we have in Europe are world class, and we are able to provide that. You know, you yourself have gone through a PhD in a European academic institution. But what Jesse's saying is that that's fantastic, and we're plowing a lot of money into this. we might be world leaders, but then people come out the other end and there's nowhere to go. What are you seeing there? Has that been your experience? Are you seeing things changing?
I think it's true that once you have done a PhD, you have narrowed a lot your research and your area that you work in. So that can, I think I agree with Jessie, that can sometimes lead to a feeling that you don't find the exact job, especially in research. So it can be a limitation, and that may be, and also an attraction that the PhD graduate wants to go and do research, which is cutting edge, and that possibly happens at Google and Amazon and at the really big tech companies, and they like to do that. Saying that, there are also, I mean, there are research projects, like I have more experience in Sweden because I've been here for so long. So there are research projects where we do apply research that you can do after your PhD as well. And it could be with cloud provisioning, with smart grids, or it could be some health, I mean, different application areas like silos, or maybe in healthcare or things like that. And also just core cloud research as well, especially at LTU. We have in Luleå a lot of data centers just because we are in the north. There has been in the recent years, 5 years or so, or a bit more, that there have been a lot of cloud providers that have built their offices here. But so we do have research collaborations with industry like that. We have Facebook data center in Luleå. But of course, I understand that they also don't have their core research here, that is more based in US. So we sometimes liaise with them, but it's not as much as we would like to. So it can be limiting for someone sometimes with PhDs, that you narrow your topic so much and you don't find that kind of research, and you sometimes end up working in the industry in tech jobs, which is okay if that is your interest. But if you want to really do research, then you try to find other places, or maybe academia or research projects.
Well, I think Jessie, you were saying that not even if you want to go into industry, can you find, good jobs that are attractive enough to absorb the skills that you've developed over the past 7 years. Because let's face it, doing a PhD is not a question of, turning up to the student union bar for an X number of years and sailing for exams. It's really, really hard work.
So the big challenges that we have in the companies in Europe is that we have not the size as we have outside Europe, where there is place and room and facilities to help these talents to move on. We are quite good in Europe to say, okay, we have a job opening. This is the goal that you need to reach, and it's fitting in the daily business. If it comes to new talent, if it comes to new developments, if it comes to new innovations, you need to make space and room to look broader, to focus on different topics, to build bridges between different content, subjects, and technology. And there's not enough room at the moment in different organizations to do this. And that's what we need to support, to build bridges and to understand what is necessary from a specific topic, segment, or sector to translate it to technology and the other way around. And that's also what Alban is saying. That gap is necessary to fulfill. You need to understand the end-to-end chain before you can move on and work on a digital strategy and translate it to cloud, but also translate it to the business that you're doing. So broader roles, broader functions, train people to scope on end-to-end solutions and problems. That's what we need to require. And then also it's becoming more attractive for people that coming from the universities or higher schools to enter what we need in Europe.
Thanks, Jessie. Cristina, I think this is a cue for you. I mean, you're no stranger to trying to find world-class digital skills for your company. It's what your value is predicated on. So what are the specific challenges that you face? And do you find Taiger-ready employees that you can just say, fantastic, come and join us, start working, here's your laptop, here are your colleagues, there's the coffee machine? Or is there something that you have to do to really get them up to speed?
Yes, I totally agree, Saguna and Yes, that we have to bring gathers or bridges between the knowledge or engineering. We will have to work co-creating different profiles, as we do at Taiger, because we work with the language. There is the 80% of data in companies or institutions are unstructured data. This data has a linguistic nature. So now at Taiger, we work with teaching the machines to understand our language. But the machines doesn't understand our language as we do, as the speakers. So and we have to, this is challenging because right now in artificial intelligence, we working with a field that there's no specific studies in university, as Jesus said right now, or masters or something like that. So it is challenging for our company to get this talent, that this hybrid profile, these linguistic computational profiles or natural language processing engineers, or that in full stack and DevOps, that they know how linguistics works, you know. So there is the principal challenge for us to find this profile. But in the another side, there is a positive way to see this, because there is more and more, there is more the natural language processing technologies or semantic technologies are developing so fast. So there is a very people interested in that. So there is a lot of people who work by themselves in their education. So for this reason, we are receiving every day more candidates. And for us, it's very important to see how the companies, inside the companies in innovation, digital companies, they are realized that they're very important, the diversity, cognitive diversity, not only identity diversity with gender, age, LGBT. So that is very important to co-create, to make teams that people from arts or humanities work together with people with another fields, of course, technology or informatics.
Oh, thank you, Cristina. I think that ties in with one of the questions that we've already received from Brendan. He says, it sounds like cloud user skills are similar to airline pilots. You are certified as Airbus or Boeing, but not both. Is this true? Can you as the company ensure that your digital teams can select the best provider based on needs, not on skills? Would anyone like to take that question? That's quite a broad question.
I'd be happy to take this one.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a good question. It is true that some of, I would say, users of cloud services are going to a cloud provider, since this is a world they know. It is not totally true for everything. For example, today it's quite easy to do some lift and shift from existing workloads you have in-house to go outside on the same technology stack. For example, if you look at the VMware market share for virtualization inside, I would say, the enterprise market, it's quite easy today to find cloud, I would say, infrastructure to have it. But if you are going to, I would say, more specific, more granular things, then you are very often tied to one world. So, and this is one thing, for example, we expect to tackle within GaiaX and to sort out, since I do not think that this is good for the future of the users and in cloud in general. Then we have this kind of development, as it has been mentioned here, you choose Airbus or Boeing. I think we need to be able to have a composition of this, and we have to work on this. But today, this is one of the things that are happening.
Thank you, Alban. That was a very complete answer to that. Could I also ask, generally, actually, coming back to you, Alban, as you've just provided the I think it's linked to this. In terms of adoption of cloud technologies, what comes first, the technology or the skills that enable that technology to be adopted in organizations?
So definitely, I would say skills. The thing is, there are skills that are in-house for use. And as I just mentioned, if you take the lift and shift of existing workload, you don't need to reskill people. So there are already, so the thing is, they are going to operate outside their own buildings the same way they are doing it inside. So lift and shift I would say, the platform as a service level to I would say the same technology outside is basically quite simple. So you already have the skills, so it is possible, so it's not a big issue. But if you are going more in, I would say, in the added value, then if you don't have the skills, you have a problem. And this is what I mentioned, I would say earlier on your first question. It's exactly what's going on. If you don't have the skills, you are not able to take the added value that is coming from outside. So even if the job of the cloud providers from our side is to make things as simple as possible for the users, whatever the kind of stack they want to use or where they enter into the program. At one point of time, you need to have the skills as an interface to this, even if it is as simple as possible. But I don't remind who say this in the panelist, but you need also to have a global view on where you want to go. And this is something very important. If you don't have that skill, then you have a problem.
And I think that actually also ties in with one of the things that you were saying, that in terms of skills, you have the technical skills, you have the soft skills as well, but also organizationally, you need to have that strategic vision. And I think that's something that you've all agreed on. I'm going to take the next question from the audience, which is, the edge is coming. What should we as companies be doing now to make sure that we're ready for it? Alberto, could you take that question, please?
Sorry, for ready for?
So the edge is coming. What should we as companies be doing now to make sure that we are ready for it, for the edge?
I think that they are talking about terms of security and regulations. No, I agree with Alban that I have said before. We need people with enough knowledge, and I think that this is the answer to this question again. Regulation is only in terms of the place you are and the place, the regulation that you need to be compliant. But you need people to understand this regulation, and regulation is administration job. It's not our business, but we need to support the administration and the governments to improve the regulation and to be able to the companies to work with cloud environments. So we are ready. Yes, we are ready, but we need to understand again how to work with cloud environments. And maybe in security we have the main difference with the other sectors. For example, we can have security for the platform, and we need a special knowledge. But we could use the powerful of cloud services to improve the security. For example, you can protect one algorithm for AI, but you can use AI to improve your security, and this is the main reason. So we are ready, but we need to work together with regulations and with organizations.
Thank you, Jesse. What about from your perspective? What can we do to make ourselves ready for the edge? Because that is actually going to be quite a transition to get all that computing power away from something that's centralized, that can be more or less controlled, to devices that are, maybe operating in the middle of field somewhere, that can be, that are not sending data up and down, that have to not just collect the data, but have to process that data in situ and then decide what they send up to the cloud, if anything at all.
I think it starts, you need to think of where do you need to have local computing power necessary for. So we have built already in the Netherlands or in Netherlands and Germany a couple of use cases where we bundled cloud computing with edge solutions, where we make where we divided, for instance, data flows from what do you need centralized in communicating and distributed data versus what needs to be solved locally because it's important to have it local. So in the industry, we have built up a smart industry setup where you have an edge node locally to control data that is necessary in the manufacturing part to control robots, for instance. So if it's disconnected from the central cloud, it will raise problems from logistic informations that can be published in a centralized environment, where if the connection is lost or if it's no direct connection, it's not an issue. So you need to think of what is necessary, what do I need to solve local, what is urgent to do local, and what can you do centralized there. And there you need to make the decisions on cloud versus edge. But first, look to your process, what is urgent, what is necessary, and what's required, and then translate it to cloud and edge solutions.
So latency and urgency there coming in to really affect the decision that you take as to where you place your computing and processing capabilities. So one last question before we all have to go back, and I have to do a quick summary of the very interesting things that you've all shared with us today. Can you think of a single action that will significantly impact the availability of cloud skills in Europe? And I'm looking for a really short phrase. So Cristina, can we start with you? Single action to significantly increase the availability of cloud skills in Europe.
Yes, as I told you, the Taiger is artificial intelligence and natural language processing company. And for this, well, we focus on intelligent automation of process or documents. And for this, the cloud is the perfect partner for the management and storage of data, scalability of business, or 24/7 online access. So we work together with different cloud partners to develop our solutions for our clients. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to take collaboration as a single thing there. Saguna, yes. What would you say is a single thing we need to do to make sure cloud skills are more available in Europe?
It's hard to say a single thing, but I can try. It could be that we have, when I see in our master's program, for example, I see more international students than I see European students. That's one thing. So maybe more students from, I don't care, they could be international students as well, but when I look at from the European perspective, I see more less European students doing master's courses or PhD programs as a matter of that. So that is something that has always struck me, that why is that? So there is something missing. And I also agree with the collaboration thing. I see that if industry collaborates more with academia while we are training these people at different levels, because we teach not just at one level, it's before undergraduate at diploma courses also we are teaching cloud, and we have the cloud master's program. We have elective courses as well. And then there's a PhD degree as well and master's thesis. So if we have more collaboration with industry, we can kind of channel that more.
Thank you.
So,
got it. Jesse, again, something really short. And
building a higher plan at the moment, what we're doing by the European Commission with the Cloud Alliance and with Gaia-X, that shows the urgency, that attracts new developments, attracts new skills, and also people get attracted to become part of the industry.
So big ambitious initiatives that can really highlight this. Alberto.
Yes, maybe I'm not happy with this, but I think that this action has occurred now with the pandemic. This has made change the minds of the companies and understand that the digital age is here. So they need to be prepared. I'm not sure if this has to be improved or promoted on universities, but I think that the regulations and governments should support the development of the companies to adopt the cloud and help with money to train people and to get the talent for everybody.
Thank you. And Alban, you had the opening word and you have the closing word as well.
I think it's too much for me. So I will be short. So I think Jess is told something very important. So to have something, we need flagships. So I will say something else then. I think on the longer run, we have to train kids coding. They need to understand the world we are in and how it works. And if we want to attract talents, we need to have people understanding, I would say, as young as possible, the world we are in and how this is possible. So cloud today is just an enabler for lots of other things. And silos world is finished. So there is algorithms everywhere, etc. So I would say the earlier kids understand that, I think we will make them understand this is important, and then they will join. But maybe it's more a long-run topic.
Well, that's definitely starting right at the beginning, which is probably where most things need to start. Thank you very much, Alberto, Saguna, Jessie, Cristina, and Alban. It's been a real pleasure to have you on the panel today.